I'm the head of cash product management in OCBC transaction banking. This is the fourth time I'm attending this event, and as per every year, I find this one of the better organized events out of the many that I attend, broadly because I think it's very topical. It's tailored to what the attendees are interested in, and the organization and the efficiency with which is run, I think it's very good. There's a lot of things packed into just one day of event. I think it's very much relevant to the whole digital transformation that's happening in not just banking but in industries broadly. So we're exposed to speakers who either are providing technologies for banks. We're also exposed to what banks are doing. Right, the sharing sessions are very useful, and we also had a session on what's outside of banking, right? So like the fintech and the blockchain and ICO discussions. I think all these come together very nicely to give bankers such as myself a broad perspective about what's possible, what's happening, what we're doing right. I think just as a form of benchmarking for what our business is already doing. Yeah. I think it's happening in a very fast pace. I think, of course, it depends very much on the geographies, very much on the size of the bank, which bank we're talking about. Some banks much faster than others. Within banking itself, we're also seeing very clearly that for the consumer banking side, wealth management side, a lot more momentum, a lot faster in terms of adoption as compared to corporate banking, investment banking, corporate finance. And I guess that's largely a function of the simplicity and ease of adoption, where when you're dealing with individual, the decision to switch and the decision to experiment with a new experience, a digital experience, I would say the friction to switch is a lot less so than for corporates, where you're typically dealing with an organization rather than individuals. So in terms of decision making, whether to switch or not, in terms of having all sorts of legacy processes, which makes change very difficult. So I think all these culminates in us observing that there's a lot more momentum that's happening on the consumer banking space. Corporate banking space, it's happening. I think a lot of it is happening more internally within the bank. How do you streamline internal processes in order to serve customers better? But I think it's a matter of time before corporate banking as well picks up pace in terms of the digital transformation, because after all, I think it's becoming broad-based. As individuals working in corporates, they are individuals and they are used to the sort of solutions and innovation that's happening for them as an individual consumer. So gradually they will start to expect the same kind of service and digital experience as they would for their corporate or perhaps an SME owner, right, in terms of his utilization of banking service for commercial banks. I can talk about, there's a lot of experimentation and projects ongoing, but I'm only at liberty to talk about those that we've launched. So in terms of the consumer banking space, we have launched a chatbot called Emma for a mortgage, right? So I think that's one of our first projects following the creation of our Open Vault, which is our innovation center, innovation hub that works with fintechs externally and bringing some of the external technologies in-house. So that Emma has actually garnered quite significant amount of leads, which translated into mortgages, actual mortgages that's booked with the bank. I'm not in a position to answer that because that's not what I've done, but what I can share is that as part of our open vault, we're also one of the first banks in Singapore or maybe in Southeast Asia that has created an AI unit, an dedicated AI unit within the open vault to experiment and to research and to implement AI solutions into our banking environment.